Hello everyone. I just want to say this is really nice to be here with more than 4 people. And I just want to say a big thank you to David, to our future Prime Minister, for letting me speak today. I want to start, everything was said already, so it will be very difficult for me to compete with everyone else, because we said so many important things today already. But I will want to start with the most important message is if everyone here in this room become a candidate, we're going to make a big step forward to our freedom, and this is extremely, extremely important. I was going to talk about the local power, because this is something that people are not aware how important actually is to become the candidate in your local area. Local governments have more power than people are aware of. And we struggle with councils. In Devon, we actually challenged them for quite a while now. And the institutions are massively corrupted. They need to be changes, because the local governments, they are the will of the government. So we have to start from there, and then we can push to the parliament. We have lots of people, then we can actually take control over. Why I think this is so important, and I really, really mean that. Heritage Party is our last chance, and I really mean it is. From my experience, I can see this very clearly. It is our last chance to defeat the system which is trying to defeat us completely. And we are so lucky to have David and we have Heritage Party, because so many other countries, they don't have anything like that. They have the devolution far more advanced there. They are much more run by the Marxist system than we are. And possibly because we had Brexit, and that actually made people think a little bit more about what we're missing. And we have the chance to open other countries' eyes as well, that actually we can do it again. We wasn't defeated, because they just thought, but they promised us a Brexit, and then they create the pandemic, of course, so they think they defeat us. So we have to do it again. We have to rise up again, and now just say, no, I'm sorry, we are still there. We're definitely not going to be as slaves. Why I think this is so important, because as I said, I already experienced that. I don't want to go back there. I came to England in the late 80s. I grew up in Poland, and I've been actually very active in Solidarity. I fight against the same system, and this is exactly the same system. This is exactly the same people. Poland joined UN in 1940s, I think, and I don't know if many people are aware, that was few countries behind the Iron Curtain. It's not exactly what most people think, that was a communist countries and that's it. No, we have a different kind of experiments going on. Poland was one of the experiments, like Cuba and some other countries as well. So that was very much, in Poland, that was over 40 years, was very much the same was happening, what we see especially since 1994 here. So we went for the education changes, we went for the debts, of course. In 70s, Poland actually was blossoming, so they create so many debts to put everyone later on in the big problem. So they create this kind of food shortage and all the stuff that we're seeing here. I went through. We have electricity cuts. We have all this stuff that is what's happening, to the point when they froze their accounts as well. So I can see step by step is going exactly the same direction. And the heritage really is the only chance to get out from this. We have to do it. That's why we need to put the pressure on the local government, because this is the people who make decisions in the end of the day. The government allowed the local government to go above the law. So they create new legislation, because the local government creates some local issue, and they talk to the government, oh, we've got an issue, we have so many ill people, we probably have a pandemic here. So the government create Corona Act and say, okay, so now you can do it yourself, you decide if you're going to have a lockdown or not. We challenge them on this, on the lockdown decisions, for example. We obtained data, official data, which was required by the Corona Act, in fact, that the local government could declare lockdown only if they have particular kind of evidence. So we challenged the local government on the basis of the Corona Act. They never obtain any evidence, so they practically breached their own regulations at this point. So it's a lots of going on there, and if we all start challenging them on every decision what they made, that probably is the first step. I'm going back to the campaign now because this is connected. Every single thing what the council deciding usually is followed by campaign. People are not happy. They are not happy. It doesn't matter if they believe in the COVID or not. They are not happy with the new housing development. They are not happy with the roads. They are not happy with the immigration. So they don't think they have lots of in common, but they do. And what we're trying to do with our campaign, we're trying to connect this campaign together. Because when we talk to people, they just say, we don't want to be political. We just want them to do this. We just want them to do this. So when we approach the people, we're actually just trying to explain this is a one issue. The issue is your local government. So if you want to make changes, you have to make the changes. You have to join the Heritage Party. There we go. This is the manifesto. If you can stand up as a candidate and you can make the changes. So we managed to get quite a few people on board, and let's hope we're going to do better. I'm going to go back to the communist system, as David said, because I think this is important to actually mention the level how we went through. Because again, many people don't realize how desperate we are to actually expand the Heritage Party now. We really don't have much time. In accordance with everything what's happening in Poland, we're going the same direction when they feel very, very comfortable at the moment. They're distracting people with different kind of gossip on the media, we focus on this, on this, on this. Meanwhile, lots of stuff is going on behind our back. In fact, we can see this stuff, but we don't pay attention because the media don't talk about this. And we don't really have a time, and we need to push forward. And I think everyone who is sitting here should go on the street with the leaflet and talk to people that they have an option, they have to vote. Lots of people don't want to go into politics. You have to actually explain this to people because, again, this is the media, this is the system. The same what was happening in Poland was teaching us, don't mix up with politics because you are nothing, you are the mass. We are a politician, you are a mass. No, politics actually is our life. Everything is involved, what we're doing involved in politics, and we have to understand that. We're living apparently in democratic countries, so what is democracy? That's the government who's supposed to represent people's needs. That's proper democracy. It doesn't happen. The government is one thing and the mass is a different thing. And the only people who are considered of being people are the local governments. The rest of us are not, we're just taxpayers. So we have to change that. We have to actually approach the government as we people, we Heritage Party. We have to go to the parliament. But first we have to be there locally to go to the parliament. So it is very important that each of us sitting here will approach anyone on the street and try to talk to them and ask them, what bothers you? Do you really like the council? What is going on? Are you happy with what's going on? Because that's when people respond. And don't start with COVID or anything. We have far more bigger issues than that COVID only. It's only a part of the big agenda, unfortunately. This is the attack on the identity, and heritage is identity. So they attacking human identity, specifically Europe, for many years since the war. The war in Poland never finished. We have this for 40 years. The Marxist was there. My grandfather was actually killed by Marxists, and my other grandfather survived the Auschwitz. So that's a very strange mixture. But we have the part which was called the Polish Independent Party, Polish National Independent Party, which was formed before the war. And later on, this party became the base for a solidarity. How we got to the solidarity? Over the 40 years, people wasn't happy. That was the same what is happening here now. Because the education was going like a brainwashing the children, sexual education, and they was taking the private property on any kind of reason they invent. Usually that was emergency, like here, because we have a socialist system, not communist system. So obviously the private sector was still there, which wasn't private at all. That belonged to the state anyway, but that was fake private sector. So people wasn't happy, and there was so many different movements. It never worked. And why? Because that was so many different movements, because they have a different kind of view on stuff, so they didn't connect, because, oh no, we're just doing this, we're just doing this. So the National Independent Army finally got in touch with the Solidarity, because Solidarity at this point was a very small group, just represented by Wałęsa. They got in touch with them, so they decided that's enough. We have to do something. We have to unite. And just in a matter of weeks, really, the Solidarity became millions from just a few hundreds, really, just become millions of people. So at this point, the government couldn't just deny we don't exist, because that was more than half of the nation. And that's exactly, I think, that the heritage is the equivalent of Solidarity at this point, because I can see this exactly the same template. It's really exactly the same template. And I think everyone needs to understand that. This is the only chance what we have. And honestly, I never want to be involved in any politics, but when I saw the manifesto, I knew I have to do it. I just have to do it, because I just don't want to go through the nightmare again. I really don't. And I don't want anyone else to go through this nightmare again. I came here to the country which I love, because one of the reasons why I love UK when I came here was because the UK still had the heritage, because it still had the identity, what was taken away from us in Poland. Poland used to be a very proud country. That was a kingdom at some point. So, the Marxists was doing everything to destroy any kind of sign of the culture. So, classless and this kind of stuff, what they try to do now, and the political correctness, that was everything done. What saved us in Poland was the fact that that was very deeply religious country. Poland was very deeply religious, so they couldn't really fight the God. They couldn't. So this is how we defeat them in the end, with the help from the church. And this is how they defeat us later on, with the help from the Vatican, unfortunately. And we have Wałęsa, which was, people think he was a big leader. He wasn't. He was a very useful person for a position at this point when they took over the government. The government gave them a position, so unfortunately he went for, he had a bad advisors, and the first thing what he'd done, I don't know if it's interesting for anyone, but just in case I'm saying it, because nobody's talking about this. So what they've done when they give back the power to Solidarity, they just advised him not to put on board anyone from the National Independent Party, because they have a better experienced people, which of course was planted agents. But anyway, they managed to, to just rise up a little bit after everything, and Poland was doing quite okay until the EU came. And Polish nation wasn't so happy to join the EU. This is not what, whatever what they were saying here, whatever everyone knows here, is not true. That was a huge opposition to actually joining the EU in Poland. But because it was the opposition, and because that was a very religious country, they sent the Pope to talk to people in Poland. And that's how they defeat us again. So it is possible to defeat them, but you have to really have your eye open all the time. You need to know what you're sticking to as the manifesto. And the basic fact, the basic thing what you have to stick to is true. The morals, the really just go with the morals all your life. And that's practically the solution.
Very good.
Thank you. One more thing, I just want to say one more thing what I forgot is important. People are not aware what they are capable of doing as well, and that's why I said we are really kind of desperation now, because we had this kind of situation like on and off, just before the martial law. And then one day, that was a Saturday, we woke up on Sunday, just a normal regular day on Saturday, we've done the shopping, woke up on Sunday, the TV wasn't on, the radio wasn't on, we didn't know what's going on, we thought it's a power cut festival, and then, my parents were checking everything, nothing was wrong. And then about 11 o'clock, that was a silence. We didn't even know we have speakers on the street. That was a silence on the street. And that was a big announcement that we have a martial law. So they introduced us to the lockdown, practically a lockdown. So they introduced the police hour. We wasn't allowed to go, out after 10 o'clock. But I just want to say one thing. On Saturday, we've done a normal shopping. We just went to the supermarket, we've done a shopping, like normal, bread, everything. On Monday morning, everywhere in Poland, in every single shop, was absolutely nothing. It was only vinegar, and it stayed like that for 3 years. They introduced the cards and etc. So this is possible. So relaxing is not a good thing at the moment.
Thank you so much, Madeleine. That was so amazing to hear about, and especially to hear about your own experiences, and it's so relevant to what's going on today.